I have no purpose that I
Took me by surprise.
So when you put the last
that's the one.
week of,
And
then
then
just like
hands.
you put one in like real quick, so that.
She kind of like this, yeah.
I'm weird anyhow.
By the time you're done. As long as the mind works well.
Hey,
Be
someone
sure
sit down
together.
sometime. I was coming into the office yesterday and kind of like
Right.
bus drivers.
Welcome everybody. We're gonna get started.
I'll tell you
In
the
fact,
story.
I'm gonna shut this door. So that everybody knows that we're getting started. My name's Sue Cragen, for those of you that don't know me. And we're excited today to bring this empathy class to you. The instructor is the great Louis Hamner. If you don't know him, then you will be delighted and inspired today. So Louis started in the title industry 2003.
Yeah.
And just as a job, didn't really know what it was and got into it and really made something out of it. If you ever get a chance to hear that story, it's pretty amazing to where he was able to go from not knowing anything about title to opening his own company and then merging to create what's now Vanguard and has 10 offices. But along the way, he also really got interested in personal development and really helping people and started a company called Red Trainings where he could come in and do these real estate trainings and try to help everybody elevate themselves in a way that we all know that when we become better, that we automatically get better at our jobs. And so he's really worked hard to do that, and he has quite a few CE classes, and he's done a ton of training. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, it's worth your time. He just always has really great things to offer. If you're just coming in, the sign-up sheet is over here on the side. So welcome everybody, and if Louis wants to add anything to that, we'll let you get started. So we're really grateful for you, Louis, for being here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
I'm excited to be with you guys today because one of the, as Sue mentioned, I created this company, Red Trainings, which stands for Real Estate Education and Development Trainings. And the reason why is because from a title perspective, there are things that we can't give as a CE class because how it's limited. As a title company, I can only do it based upon title needs. So, and what I found was that there were things that I found helpful in my business that I wanted to be able to deliver to you in a way that it would be beneficial for you twice, not only the content, but also that it would be able to give you CE. So hence the reason why this was created, so that there would be a way for you to benefit in two ways. So what I want to share with you today is how you can strengthen your customer relations using empathy. And it sounds a little when I tell people that I talk to business, to professionals today about empathy, it feels like it's out of context, and at least that's how a lot of people view that. But what I'm going to share with you today, you'll see what empathy is, and I hope that I can take what you understand and currently about empathy and maybe flip it on its head a little bit, because a lot of times we get empathy and sympathy mixed up, and that's problematic. So let me just start off by telling you how this kind of came to be. Is that I had some experiences in my life dealing with people in my personal life and also business, where when they would talk to me about a problem that they had or that they were going through, a pain point, even in my business, meaning I closed them as a escrow officer or whatever, it was problematic, or a situation was problematic. I always felt disconnected from the problem, or at least I wanted to, and I felt like I had to fix the problem. And it seemed like when I tried to fix the problem, that only exacerbated the situation. So, does anybody know what I'm talking about? When you try to fix a problem and it seems like the person is responding and the response is getting worse. And then what happens? We feel this resentment towards that person because you're trying to help them and verbally they're punching you. And then you get more resentful and then you disconnect, you don't want to help them, and then it goes worse. Right? And so what I realized is that I had a couple moments in my life when I was going through this with someone. However, there was something different, meaning I was going through a similar situation with a person, but then it went really well. And what I couldn't understand is, same problem, transaction A was problematic, same problem, transaction B or interaction B, and it worked. It was fine. So I'm like, there's something going on, right? In science, if you can't duplicate a process, then it's not a one, right? You have a hypothesis, you experiment, and you try to get the outcome to be predictable. And what I realized is it seemed unpredictable. And I couldn't figure out what the difference was. Until I came across a couple principles. And so that experience is what created this. And then over time, I feel that I've gotten better at doing this. And then I realized that when I would see it in other people or in other situations, I realized if they understood just a couple of things, that interaction or that situation could be a lot better. So let me start off by quoting Brene Brown. The reason why the problem, when you try to fix it, it gets worse, is because sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy drives connection. Sympathy isn't worried about fixing it. It's worried about sympathy is worried about fixing the problem. Empathy is worried about connecting the problem. So, and came across this morning, and another way that she says it. She says, sympathy is giving advice and judgment. Sympathy is giving advice and judgment disguised with concern. Sympathy is the counterfeit. And so what I want you to start shifting your mind to is that sympathy has nothing to do with empathy. They're not the same. Sympathy is just understanding what's going on. Empathy is being in the moment with it. Right, so here we go. I love this guy so much. He's one of my favorite sitcom characters. A lot of people think customer service is about fixing things and solving problems. That's not the whole story. What is true 100% of the time, however, is that when a customer reaches out for service, they want to be heard and feel like the person on the other end of the conversation truly understands what they're going through. Customer service can't always deliver solutions, but it can always deliver empathy. In a recent study by Com100, which is a customer service consultant company, on customer service experience, 84% of the people stated that their last customer experience did not exceed expectations. The reason why it didn't exceed expectations is because they did not feel heard. They got their money back. They got the new product. All of the stuff was corrected on paper. But what wasn't corrected is they weren't felt. They weren't heard. The customer service rep didn't share in their pain. wasn't able to identify with it and walk through it very sterilely so that they were on paper unharmed. So, when something goes wrong in a transaction, one of our first responses is we think, oh my gosh, well, if this is happening, what we're going to do, because I've seen this happen so many times, I'm going to give them a credit, and what people don't want is the credit. What they want is to be heard and shared and have a feeling and a sense of shared pain. And why they demand the credit is because they need to share in the pain. Watch. Have you ever had a friend that harmed you, broke something with you, it's a good friend, and although what they did was wrong, and although what they did they should pay you back for it, you say this, it's okay, don't worry about it. I don't want it to. Even though they're offering it, and they're like, here's the money. I broke this of yours. You're like, no, I don't want your money. Tell me, why don't you want the money? For the fear of the loss of image. It's not worth the friendship. But you'll take the money every day of the week when there's no connection with the person. You're right, you owe it to them. Because you don't want the money to be the reason why you're not there. But when a relationship is strained enough, money moves. So, understanding empathy, what we first have to do is understand the etymology of it, and by understanding the etymology of empathy, helps us to understand what it really means. So, I define empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. That is, the capacity to place oneself in another's position and actually experience not the same experience, but the same emotion. In ancient Greek, the word empathy or empathia, E-M means in. And pathia comes from the word pathos, which means passion. And passion means to suffer. If you're passionate about something, you're willing to suffer to achieve it. I'm passionate about basketball. I'm willing to go through and practice and go through all that suffering to play it because I enjoy doing it. So I'm passionate, or I'm willing to suffer to play basketball. If you don't like it, you're willing to suffer for it. Right? If you like your children, you're not willing to suffer for them, but you're passionate about your children. So empathy means a willingness to suffer another's pain in order to understand their experience and them as a person. I'm willing to experience pain to understand it because I am passionate about it. I'm willing to go in with it. So I want you to think of this as because what you do as an agent, because it's so highly emotional, right? It's high stakes, it's high emotions, and it's a lot of money. It's the biggest investment that people, that 98% of people have in their lives is their home. It means that there is an ability or the potential to experience a lot of pain in the moment. So much so that even, honestly, giving up your whole commission wouldn't really compensate for something really tremendously bad. How do you know that's true? Because they're willing to pay you to get it. Make sense? So, in this transaction, if we're not willing to step in and to see the person and to meet them in their pain, then we will never create a connection strong enough if you're going to want to use this again or to get through a difficult moment in that transaction. Because it's so hard. And that's why your job is so painful, is because what's at stake is a lot. And where you come in conflict with is you love to do the job, the work, and sometimes you're not willing to go through the pain to actually achieve it, to go through it. And because when we start to get in all this pain, what we tend to do is to blame, justify, and label to get out of it, to disconnect from the problem, and to numb ourselves, and then move through it and say, here's $500 for the rough transaction, we should be good. Right? He doesn't understand me, or she doesn't understand me. Those are my fucking goals. I want your whole commission. And now, why do they want your whole commission? Because they know that that is going to cause you a tremendous amount of pain. How much pain? The exact pain they're experiencing. That's why they ask you for money. And that's why you don't want your friend to give you money. They ask it because there's no connection. You don't ask it because there is. Make sense? Yeah. So, empathy is a skill. Some people are naturally better at it than others. I got that water for a reason. I'm thirsty. Some people are naturally better at it than others, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn it. As a kid, I grew up. My dad was a drill sergeant, 18 years in the military. Highly unempathetic. What's the opposite of no empathy? Sadistic. But so, and to give you an example of this, and it's an extreme example, but as a kid, I remember I was picking up these nails and we were building our house. I was probably 6 years old. I was either in first grade or kindergarten. And I cut my foot wide open on this. I was barefoot. I cut my foot wide open, where I ended up getting like 6 or 8 stitches. And my dad said, finish doing the chore, and then we'll take you to the hospital. We'll take you home. Wrap it up. Finish. I'm bleeding. Finish it, and then I'm bleeding. And I'm crying, and then he's like, all right. Anyway, but that was my dad. And so, because we tend to grow up and act as our parents act, or sometimes we mimic what our parents did. What I realized is that a lot of the pain that I was experiencing in my work was because of my inability to express. Because in my mind, if I hurt, you just get it. If you're tired, you just get up. I don't care. Get up. You got a job to get done. You just do it. So when someone would complain to me or say something, I don't really care. This still has to get done. We'll do it. And I realized that drove a lot of disconnection and drove a lot of pain inside of me. So, Teresa Wiseman says that empathy has 4 characteristics. And characteristic number 1 is appreciating and understanding the world. Another way you can say that is perspective taking. You're able to actually take on the perspective. And so in order to appreciate and understand someone's world and to see it from their perspective, you have to be able to predict what they are experiencing and what they will experience in this situation. That's how well you have to know. Let me just give you another example of how you can understand if you are appreciating and understanding someone's work. I grew up in a small town in Indiana. Literally, like my house, the back of my house was a 10-acre woods. And let's see, so the 10-acre woods was to the west. South was a big 15-acre cornfield, soybean field, whatever it was. Across the street was another big field. So I'm like, filled the dreams. Like I was in smack dab in the middle of nowhere. If you wanted gas, it was at least 8 miles to get gas. Even that town wasn't that big. It had one fast food joint. It was pretty small. But so if someone came to me, and the place where I grew up is about 45 miles south of Indianapolis. So if someone came up to me and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're from Mount Auburn," and they started to explain, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're from Mount Auburn," so in Mount Auburn there's only one stop sign, and the population is 113 people, and your family was 13 of the 113. I'm like 10% of the population. And they would begin to describe it. Oh my gosh, do you remember that there was an old school that got torn down and there was a basketball court up there that had, wooden backboards, and the wooden backboards would warp because it rained so much, and then the kids would still play, and they were saying that. I'm like, yeah, I know, you know where I'm from. I know that. And if I were saying, look, let me ask you this, who lived in the corner house that on the four-way cross, on the one house where the roof was always caving in, who lived there? And if they said that was Junior, I'd say, that's right, you know you're from there. Appreciating and understanding the world feels just like that. You can describe it to such a level that they can vet or validate that you know exactly what you're talking about, because that nobody else can do. And until you can do that, it's not like, oh, yeah, they're going through a divorce, it's tough. No. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like, oh my gosh, you're going through a divorce. I wonder if they can't sleep at night. I wonder if they're like feeling at their job because it's so emotionally draining. I wonder if they feel like hopelessness and this emptiness inside of them. Oh my gosh, they're going through a divorce. That's what it feels like. But until you can say that, you haven't. These aren't necessarily steps, but let's just call them steps. You haven't done stuff. So now when you think about what would it be like to be a person who has only bought a house twice in their life, you're super excited, and they have 4 kids. And what would it be like to receive the news of the house being replaced with a What would it be like to receive the news of our offer being accepted? And what would it be like? And when you call them up, do you just call them to tell them? All them to share. It's an attempt to connect with this one. Step 2, our second attribute. You have to be able to recognize the emotions that they are experiencing in that moment. You have to be able to recognize that, and to say, if I were you, I would be experienced. If I were you, and if I was going through a divorce, my confidence would be able to win. Or, I would feel a lack of confidence. I would feel stress every day. I would feel judgment. I would feel all these emotions when you're explaining them to others. And it's, that's exactly what I'm experiencing every day. If I were you, and I was trying to sell my house, and I had to get out because I had to go move to out of state to get another job, and if I didn't have an offer on my house within the first week in a seller's market, I would be super worried and wondering if we have the right strategy and we do it well. That's what it sounds like. Identifying the emotions, and then step 3, being able to communicate the understanding of those emotions. When you experience this emotion, what does it feel like? What does it cause you to do? How does it affect the rest of your life? What's going on? Makes sense? And then the 4th attribute is zero judgment. There can never be any judgment as to why a person is in a situation or what is happening. Judgment. Someone once said, I think it was Mother Teresa, but I'm not sure, maybe it was family and stuff like that. Somebody said, it's impossible to be loved and judged at the same time. It's impossible to love and judge somebody. You can't experience those 2 things because they're completely opposite. When you judge someone, you can't see their perspective. You can't see what they're experiencing because your judgment clouds your ability to see what they're actually experiencing. Because, and oftentimes we judge because we don't want to be connected, because we identify with the problem, because we think we might have been part of the problem. And so now we want to judge them to disconnect so that we don't have to identify with the behavior. Makes sense. Give me a second. I'm going to explain this and then I'll go to questions. So we can't judge. You can observe. You can identify. You can see it like a scientist. If a scientist judges anything, he loses credibility. What a scientist has to be what? Objective. It has to see it through the eyes of a scientist, which is good. But if he's looking at any experiment or anything he's doing with any form of judgment, what happens? It invalidates the experiment. It invalidates his theory because that's bias. You have a scientist who looks at it and says, if I am biased, I will miss things. I will miss things as I do this experiment. I will miss what's going on. I have to sit here and say, even though he doesn't say, well, probably put a little too, I didn't put enough, chloric acid. It's probably my fault. It's happening. He just says there's not much chloric acid. That's it. There's no blaming. There's no labeling. There's no justifying. He's just seeing it for what it actually is. Because he doesn't identify problems, whereas he doesn't judge himself or look at himself as a person. Makes sense? Go ahead.
Okay, I like the flow here. Basically, we have to understand what the world is, maybe why they're moving, why they're selling, why they're buying, anything else like that. Recognize that they are experiencing emotions as they go through this. It might be exciting, it may be scary, it may be happy. And then you got to understand or be able to communicate an understanding of that emotion. And then I think the 4th one is the one that might be the tough one. You can't not judge their emotions, but we have to work with them.
Yeah. This is the toughest of them all, and without this, if you have judgment, the quality of the other 3 have been diminished. So, go ahead.
Okay, so in another example, you can understand what they're going through, but you don't have to agree with them. That's not your judgment.
That's right. You don't have to agree with it. It doesn't have to be you. There's just zero judgment. There's just your preference.
So you have to recognize it for them, let them know you recognize and understand that again, you don't have to.
And you're willing to share in the pain. So, like, watch. With judgment, it ruins our integrity and ruins ruins our credibility. It ruins our whole. It ruins every quality, every positive quality we have. Judgment ruins all of it. So watch, even if in a situation where you may not be, if someone has been, let's say someone is in dire need of selling their house because they've done something totally stupid. I use the word stupid. I'm already judging what they did. But let's say that's how we see it. You know what? They're selling their house because the guy has to come up with the money because he bought some options on a stock in the market and put all this money in. They're losing everything. This is absolutely stupid. Who would ever do that? I know they need to sell and I'm coming over for this to the market. Okay? If I come over and I'm like, that guy, this guy is totally screwed and he's just an idiot. And I'm sitting down and talking to him. That is what I'm doing. I don't care what I'm saying. They feel it and they know it. And I don't care. And that's why oftentimes a seasoned agent will lose the listing opportunity, the listing to a brand new agent because the one comes up with judgment and this one comes up with I feel safe with them. I don't care how good you are. Because that person just goes, I should help you to the suck being here right now. And all that goes up. And if you have no judgment, just all of it goes up. When you walk in and that's your mantra in your head, you win. Because you connect. Because you're able to say, I just want to help you. This must be awful. This must. You must. I would be thinking this, I would be thinking that, I would be feeling this, I would be feeling that, I would be feeling that. And I'm like, yeah, wow, this is so hard. It's hard for me to be here talking about this because I know how that would feel. Let's talk about selling your house. But if they say, I'm selling my house because of this, and then you just go right by it. Oh, I know, okay, so let's talk about how we're going to get you your money so you can give us something else so you can do it. It's going to just because you want to disconnect from it. You guys follow that. So, watch. Have you ever gone to a funeral and you don't really know the person, but your spouse does or your friend does, or maybe you kind of just know because they were in your office or something, you have a good relationship. And then you're standing in line in the viewing, you're standing in line to express your sympathies, nervous, like to express. That's how we say it, but you're standing around and then you're getting nervous because you don't know what to say. What do you say to a kid, to a person like next to a kid? To an accident, maybe it was their fault. Oh my gosh, that was horrible if I was there. That's awful when you're getting close to it. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Gosh. Why don't you know what to say? First off, you're in judgment. You can't expect to take it. You can't expect to take it. You can't identify these persons. If you can't identify the persons, you don't know what you do. And then you do this. As you get closer, and then you see somebody really connect to them, you're trying to listen to what they're saying and how they say it. You say something like that. Okay, that's what it makes sense. I'm going to say something like that. How many of you felt this? That's right. So, that is because you disconnected. And disconnection, or lack of connection, is usually also caused by the lack of understanding of what empathy really is. And so because you don't understand, and because you don't know what to do, and because it makes you feel insignificant, and then you say something like this, I feel so stupid. And then you said something about that's what they've seen me actually. If they've seen me, I'm here, they will see me here. sense? So what this is a skill. You can learn this, and you can be that person who's standing in line, and you can actually say this by practicing this over and over. You can say, I don't know this person. I can't wait to get up there and make sure that person's going to be this. I can see that. I can't wait to talk to them.
I think if we take ourselves out of it, totally, I mean, it can't be about us. Period.
And how do you do that if you don't want to say that your contract is filled?
Just like this, that person's soul,
That's right.
and then respond with
That's right. So, the reason why I bring that story up about setting in mind is because one, it's pretty universal if you've ever attended the awful because it's so overwhelming of depths. It's very overwhelming. And so it makes you feel small.
It's harder too when you haven't gone through it to be able to have it.
And after this class, you understand what it's like. So here I am, standing in line, there's some people talking to a guy in my neighborhood who just lost his wife to cancer. And I'm hearing people talk to him. And I'm like, and as I'm hearing it, I hear that he's just being more gracious to that than they are to me. It's like, oh, it's okay. This is just, and I thought, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, so I'm going to be letting it out for the first time. I know this is, I'm able to do this. And I walked out to Kent. And pretty much the same. So I walked out to him. And I hugged him, and I whispered in his ear, Kent, I don't even know what to say right now. If I were you, I would feel hopeless, and in complete darkness. I have no idea what to say to you. I just want to be here with you. And I want to love you. I don't know what else to say. Other than I'm just here. I'm just waiting. And he just lost it. This was on the night that this was the next night that his wife passed away. A year later, or a few months later after the funeral and stuff, he came up to me and said, that's right, it was trying to say this thing. I don't know what you did. I can't even remember exactly what you said about it. Horrible. I felt. I didn't feel alone. Didn't fix it. Didn't fix that. I just feel less. So, I want to play this video. You're going to watch it, obviously, and then I want to hear what is important to you or what you heard as the result of this. What stood out? And see. Here. Let's see.
How many of you are blamers? How many of you, when something goes wrong, the first thing you want to know is whose fault it is? Hi, my name is Brienne. I'm a blamer. Let me just tell you this quick story. So,
Okay, so I'm going to back up 1 second because I think that's the wrong. I'll bring it out of this. For whatever reason, that's the wrong one.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, let me climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So let's hear it.
I realize that pretty much whenever my wife is going through something, I approach it wrong. So I need to take a look at that for sure. It's easy to jump on and want to fix things. That's not the right way. Hey, that's okay. I'll admit it.
See? Just understand it. Okay. What else? What else is on?
I think feeling with another rather than feeling for another.
Or sometimes you can just say, I don't know what to say. Sometimes seconds naturally say too much things.
Not thinking about empathy versus sympathy. I've always thought, and I guess I heard a long time ago, I don't believe it. Empathy is what you try to be empathetic, is talk about your experiences. You want to be about that other person's experiences. So in that video, when the bear comes along, the first thing the bear does is say, I know what that feels like, and I wonder, is that really helpful when you try to be empathetic? Would you not just be better suited not to talk about what you've been through, but just to say something like, so you'd be more inclined, I think, to go and talk about what works for you, if you talk about having been there before, and you put yourself on the sympathetic side and then fix it. So it seems like the second part, when they're saying, I don't know what to say, it's like you told me, that seems like it's a better way to go than that video.
Agreed. I understand what you're saying. I think it's important not to get caught up in the weeds, but to be able to communicate that you understand. So, if someone was in a car wreck, or let's say they just wrecked their car, but they, just got within like 48 hours, the front door just wrecked. That happened to me But if I were to say, I experience exactly what you went through, it just feels awful, doesn't it? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to myself. It's like my time. It's awful. Right? You still have to, we can communicate that we do understand it and say that we've done it, but we don't have to get kind of into the details of what we experience because what they're going through is what you experience. Right? And so then it's a fleshing out of tell me what are you thinking about it. You don't have to say, oh, but I did it. And then you start being the me monsters, you start telling everything. Tell me what is it that you're going through? I had so many different emotions, what emotions over the top, what are you experiencing right now? So it's about because it's important that you do have to communicate that you can take the perspective. Doesn't mean that you have to have had that exact experience. It just means that similar experiences create similar emotions, right? Have you ever lost a pet to an unexpected death? Right? What does that feel like? Does it feel like anything like losing a relative unexpectedly? Kind of. They're similar. I mean, it's similar, right? So you just have to identify with the emotions. And sometimes just by saying that you experience something very similar helps them to qualify your statements. And I know you understand. I could say that and not have to go into detail of how I know what emotions. I can say, I lost my mother too. I know exactly what that feels like. What do you feel? And then they go, oh my gosh, and they can just go off and say, does that make sense? But just not getting caught up in the lies of one person. Oh yeah, but this guy, getting into your own story. Makes sense? But it's a great point that because oftentimes, because we want to know, because we don't want, because that is painful, we don't know what to say, we tend to talk too much. And the silence is what needs to be felt because it's the silence, the emotion, the fact that you're there, and the love or the concern that you have for that person, can only really be felt in silence.
Yeah, at least you have
Yeah. I lost the love of my life. At least you have it. But just like when I hugged Kent, and I said that, I just said, I don't know what to say. And I stayed in silence. It was like in second number 4, in the 4th second, when he started shaking the arm because he realized what I wasn't doing, even though I didn't know what to say. He realized what I was willing to stand in his pain, even though I didn't know what to say, or even though I've never experienced what he had experienced. Makes sense? Any other questions?
Okay. I think when you relate an experience, you have to be careful. Say, say, I've had a similar experience. That's okay. But that's as far as you should really take it. Because their emotion may be totally different from what they're experiencing. What their outcome of the emotion is different from what you may have had.
Right.
Yeah, you may have crashed your car. Whoa. Your emotion might be, I lost my car. And his emotion was, what? I'm still walking. And so we need to let them express their emotion, not inject our emotions on them.
Right. Right. And so that's what perspective taking is all about. That's why seeing it from their sense of the world and appreciating their world and how they're experiencing it is so important. So how do we really appreciate and understand the world? We're going to go into depth over the next hour, but if we want to take a break, I can take a 5-minute break, use the restroom, get a drink. If we want to take a break, we can go. Go. So how do we appreciate and understand the world? And I want you to think of this now. Don't think about this in your personal life. think about this in your business. How do you do this? How do you do this when, again, you know that part of the problem could be your fault? You didn't double check something. Something happened. You're the one that picked the title company. You're the one that picked the loan officer. And it's the loan officer or the title company that screwed this up right now. You're the problem. Right? So how do you do this when it's your fault? When you wreck the car. So, well, and being able to appreciate and understand the world, you have to take yourself out of the picture and out of your judgment and put yourself in a safe place and know that regardless of what you did, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, there's errors all the time, or there's issues all the time. And by being focused on how you're feeling in that moment and how they're going to respond to you is why you can't be empathetic, is because you're so consumed with your own pain and the pain of them holding you at least accountable.
So could you ask the question, if you're at fault, could you just ask the question, would you first admit it?
Yeah. So
and then ask how do you feel that we can make a decision?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Thoughtful questions demonstrate awareness of potential needs, right? So take yourself out of the picture. The thoughtful questions. I would say you could say something like, if it was you, and if you're worried about the relationship, by being able to go into depth of what they might be thinking really about you is important. If I were you, I'm wondering if I were you, I would be second guessing on whether or not I was the right agent for you in this moment because of this problem. That's potentially what you think. When you're willing to go into the deepest parts of what they might be thinking and to express that your awareness is so great that they could be second guessing or thinking that you're no longer credible or they can't rely on you. The fact that you're willing to go there, and if you are, authentically, it takes it out of their mind and out of their question. The fact that you say this, I was until you said that. Most people, that's what they'll respond. I was until you said that. The fact that you're talking about it tells me you have a very great understanding of what's actually going on emotionally in this transaction. I don't blame you for questioning that. I would be questioning it too. And when you try to cover it up and you get past it, then in their mind they think they're hiding something. They don't want to admit it to the fault. And the very perceptive people see it, feel it, and then because they get scared, they won't get paid for it.
You have to be vulnerable.
You have to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is where your real strength is, and just saying, this totally sucks right now. And I bet I would be second guessing if I was the right agent or the right choice in this. And what I want to do is kind of tell you what's going on in this situation right now, so that you can actually take that out of your mind, because this happens on every transaction. It has the potential. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be the best agent in the world. Sometimes you just can't do this. Let me tell you that. Another like, I know you know me. Right? So asking the questions, appreciating, demonstrating the value of what those needs are. If I were you, I would be wanting from the rest of this transaction, I'd be wanting an update hourly on what's happening at this point. Would you like an hourly update on what's happening? What would you really be wanting in this moment? And whatever you're really wanting in this moment, I bet you they're wanting as well. So it's these types of questions. If you really put yourself in their perspective and say, what would I be asking? What would I be demanding? What would I really want? And be willing to really go there and say, and then risk it and say those things to them. They appreciate it at such a high level because they're really realizes there's no place you're not willing to go. And that they can be open and honest in all their communication. And as you try to not go here, then they try to not tell you their expectations. Because why would I tell you something that you're not concerned about or even aware of? So, it could also sound like this. In this situation, if I was a new home buyer, I'd have all sorts of questions of what's going on right now. In this moment, I want you to feel totally safe. This is going to be a discussion about what's going on. What are the real questions that you have in your mind right now? Honestly. Do you think I'm doing my job? What are they? What is I would be thinking that? And then allowing them to get their questions. You don't have to come up with them. But creating a safe enough moment for them to really feel open to express what they feel is super important. Because then they'll say something, and then you can say, tell me why you said that. Share with me more about what else does that feel like. This makes sense? So, recognizing the emotions sounds like statements that identify emotions make a person feel safe and understood. And here are some of the things, and you guys practice this in your scripts. If I were you, I would be feeling frustrated. If I were you, I would be feeling the same way. If I were you, I would be feeling I often say, I use the word blame because sometimes that's what we want to do when we're afraid, when we're unsafe. We label, we name call. We label, we blame, or we justify. Right? When we feel unsafe. And so I like to say, I wouldn't blame you if you thought I was a total jerk right now. I wouldn't blame you. Or I wouldn't blame you if you thought I was totally incompetent about this right now. I wouldn't blame you if you were very upset and 18 minutes long. I wouldn't blame you. How do you feel? Just right. Do you feel like that? It's okay. It doesn't matter. Make sense? So what I want to do is, let's take an example. I want you to think of an example when it was hard to communicate something to someone. That you knew that when you communicated this to them, it was going to be really difficult for them to take it. Can you think of a time recently? Maybe a friend that you didn't have this problem because you didn't have problems on your files. On your transaction, but this was your friend who had a problem on the transaction. Asking for a friend. Give me an example. What's something that's been hard? Have you ever had to tell someone that the deal is not going to report today? Is that a hard conversation? Okay. How does it currently go? Let's give it a little more context. If it's a young family moving in from out of town, everything's in boxes in a truck. They need to move in, and it's Friday, and you just found out it's 5:01. They did not report, and the seller is not going to let them in if they're not on record. How do you communicate that? How have you communicated that previously?
Name's a cloud. No, I'm not.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what happens. I've had agents say, "Can I blame you on this?" I know it's not your fault, but I'll send you blame you. That's what they say. I remember one time Russ said, "Just." We label, right? When we're unsafe, we label, blame, or justify. Right?
Or you can even blame them for that. Maybe they didn't pick up your sign in time, and because you didn't get your papers signed, there's nothing I'm not saying that's what exactly I said, but it's very easy to roll that out of your mouth rather than take a minute, take a breath, and really feel the feeling and go from that point. Because then the whole conversation's gonna be.
So let's use this. Let's role play this a little bit. So let's say that they didn't sign. Let's say it was the buyer's fault. Let's say, right? They missed the signature. You contacted them. Signed at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. on Thursday. Or on Thursday, the lender got a condition on Thursday night saying they missed the signature. You told them they had to come in by a certain time to re-sign this document, and they didn't re-sign it, so that's why it didn't fund. It is the buyer's fault. Right? It originated with the person, but we all make mistakes, and there was plenty of time to fix it. It was their fault. They misjudged. They didn't show up. Right? So now, how would they feel knowing that this is their situation and it was their fault? What do they want to do? Right? They want to do exactly what you want. They want to justify it and make what somebody else. What they want to say is, why the hell did the escrow officer miss it anyway? And the escrow officer says, oh, guess what? They didn't sign it. There was a mistake on the contract. It's the agent's fault. Right? Like something like that, right? It goes vicious. So then this buyer says, I didn't know who to blame on this. I can't trust any person in this whole transaction because the title company saying one thing, my agent saying one thing, and the one off saying another. You guys are all screwed up. I hate this. I will never ever lose anybody in this transaction again. That's why they say it. Because no one was brave enough or had the courage to be vulnerable and to say, Wanda, this is, you're not, it's not your fault. Title and the seller's not. And then they have kids, and I know who's moving out of town. I am so worried about if you have a place to stay tonight, what you must be feeling, what's it cost you, and it just must feel like I'm so sorry. How do you feel? No one's willing to say that. Something is. It's hard. But the sympathy is what drives the disconnection, and it's the empathy that drives the connection. And they say, watch. Have you ever had a situation where you've gotten into a fight with someone or had a bad situation with a client? It was really bad, but in the end, they give you the best agent ever, and they give you a referral. Like, I was doing this to me, this was actually the right transaction. Doesn't even make sense. If this same scenario happened with this other person, they would have lost their mind. Right? Doesn't even make sense.
I think if you empathize with them, it gives them a chance to clear that out of their mind.
That's right. That's exactly what it does.
So they're not all involved in that emotion by themselves.
That's right, because they've come out of the blame shame game. And so now they're out of it and they're actually able to experience what they really feel. They don't have to feel blame or the shame of it, of not getting the document signed. Then they can begin to process the magnitude of what's going on and be able to take steps to resolve it themselves. I taught this class to about 200 people one time, and I labeled all of these events. I put death of a child, death of a spouse, the death of a child by suicide, divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, and I listed all of these really horrific things that we go through in life. With about 200 people, and I said, raise your hand if you've experienced one of these 10 things. I had about 10, 12, one of these things. Raise your hand if you've experienced. Everybody had their hands up, at least one. And I said, raise your hand, keep your hand up if somebody is experiencing one of these things, if you feel confident going over and talking to that person who's experiencing this. Everybody's hand down. I said, put your hand up if you, well, I said, now, if you felt, I said, put your hands down, if you felt like the reason why you can't go over there is because you don't know how to fix it, raise your hand. Everybody put their hand back up. Then I said, keep your hand up if you've experienced one of these things and someone gave you extreme comfort and that comfort had nothing to do with fixing your problem. Everybody kept their hand up. You get what I'm saying? It's never about fixing it. And it's exactly what you just said. When we provide the safety and the comfort, they know what to do already. They know how to fix it. They know what they're going to have to go through. They may not want to acknowledge it in a moment, but they know it. And the minute we begin to give advice, disguise this concern, draws this connection. They already know what the solution is. You just have to convey an understanding of the situation and how you may want it solved as a way of saying, there are other ideas and ways to solve this, but I'm not sure how you want to do it, but here are some things. What do you think about that? And now that their mind is clear, they know what they need to fix, and then your job is to say, I'm here to help you fix it.
Well, that guard is down.
That's right.
Having to be fixed. I have that mind for frustrations. These wrestlers. We're very different. We are polar opposites.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean to put this in all men, but I've seen a lot of men that do want to fix the problem, and it's not like they're not understanding about it, but they just want to fix it. And they feel it's fixed, and then that's their way of showing their love, like trying to fix the problem. And when I come at it my way is I don't want him to fix it, I just want him to understand it. I'll get it fixed, but if he can understand me, then again, both of those shields will drop down and the communication is so much better.
Yeah, that's good. Go ahead.
So basically what we're trying to learn how to do is create an environment in which a client or a friend or anybody else or yourself can express an emotion safely and how they feel. Because, we're not trying to solve the problem. I've learned a long time ago that a lot of people don't want their problems solved, especially by me. So, I learned to not do that, but I still do it sometimes. But the thing I'm seeing here is we're trying to create an environment where emotion can be safely expressed and communicated back and forth. So that you can understand what they're doing, what they want, how they feel should be handled, how you feel.
That's right.
You can help them.
That's right. So let's go to the next statements are communicating understanding of emotion. So let me explain this. You don't have to have experienced the exact same experience they experienced. You just have to identify with that emotion they're experiencing. Identify that you've experienced that same emotion in a different situation. And then how you feel and how that emotion makes you feel and respond to life in your experience. I was teaching this class in St. George, and a real estate agent said, this is exactly how she said it. She goes, I think that's bullshit. She goes, I lost the baby at birth, and there's no way you can make the best baby. You can't do that. That was like exactly what she said. And I said, okay. So I walked up to her and I pulled a chair up next to her and I just said, her name's Julia. And I said, Julia, I've never lost a child in my life. I've gone through depression. And when I was depressed, it felt like this to me. And the pain just endless. And I did it. And she would start crying. And she just goes, holy shit, I can't believe you just said that. And she listened to me. And she goes, I lost this baby 6 years ago. No one has ever said it like you just said. I have never believed anybody understood me until this class. And I've never had a baby. I've never.
Hopelessness, right?
It's the hopelessness. It's being in the same emotion or being able to communicate understanding of that emotion. That makes sense.
That's the thing about the people who stood there and said that to me. It would not have been the same. It just would not have.
You mean standing up and saying it and sitting in? Right. Why?
Because you're on the same page.
That's right. Perspective. I'm sitting at the same level you are in this moment. I haven't told you one bit. Calling me out for thinking. And same information. I'm ready to do it. And she was just too broken. So,
Part of the frustration she was feeling, why it would BS to her, was nobody identified with her emotion.
that's right. Nobody knew. And I asked her, did anybody do anything that really feel? And she says, everybody was so afraid. She says, people gave me food. Tons of people bought flowers. Tons of people did this. Everybody was so afraid they were just keeping themselves on one side. And I said, do you blame them? Because what you were asking them to do was to experience the emotion you're experiencing. Would you want anybody to do that to you? And I said, no, I wouldn't want anybody. And she was, I said, can you blame them in this moment? She goes, no. I can't believe you just, yeah, I can't blame them either. I said, you just express empathy. Makes sense. So that's why, and again, we talked about this, but being a non-judgment is what's key to all of this. Because when you're in judgment, the quality of all of this is, is greatly diminished. So I want to talk about this for a moment. Oh wait, sorry. I said non-judgment statements. Let's go back. Sorry. Okay. So we talked about this. Let's go back. So not being in judgment. I want to talk about how do we not judge? How do we not do it? Well, one of the things I've learned that has been really helpful for me is we talked about being a scientist, but looking at it through those lenses, a scientific lens, so to speak. One is being really curious. Just saying, how could this have happened? So, how? Don't worry about the why, because the why presupposes what? For me, anyway, the why presupposes someone's to blame. Why did this happen? Who wasn't looking? Who wasn't thinking? Right? So just look at how. So how did this happen? How would I feel? And if we just say, how would I, ... want it to be resolved? How would I want it? How would I want to be understood in this moment? How would I? But just be focused on the question, how? how did this happen? Make sense? So just being curious. And the second point of curiosity is just saying why to be curious is because of point B, curiosity expands understanding. It expands what you see and what you experience. I was in Jackson Hole a couple weeks ago, and this lady, she had these little kids, and she went and got her bottle, she was holding her bottle of water. And her 3-year-old says, "Mommy, is that your bottled water?" "Yes." "Mommy, why did you bring water? Why are you bringing water with us?" She says, "Don't be silly, we're thirsty." Right? She goes, "Don't be silly, we get thirsty." "Mommy, is there enough water for all of us?" "Of course." Mommy was asking all these questions, and I thought, I know what the kid wants to know. How long is the walk? And the mom kept judging the questions. "Honey, there is enough water. I have it. There's only one water bottle. We only had one." And he's asking all these questions. And then the kid goes, "Mommy, how long are we going to be walking?" I knew that. I was waiting for that. But I'm not blaming the mom, but I realized her judgment presupposed that she understood why the child was asking. Because she presupposed, again, I know my kid, been around, they ask all these stupid questions. You're thinking about that. And all they wanted to know is how long the walk was, and if there was enough water for that walk. And then she said something like, "I'm walking," and she says, "Well, I want to know if there's enough water." And she says, "Well, of course there is. Why would you ask that?" And the child said, "Because there's a water fountain. We could fill it up more if we needed more." And my mind is just blown, like, if there wasn't judgment. And saying, "Honey, why do you ask this?" Was it right to the point? I asked that because there's a water fountain. Yeah, I know there's only one water. Because we could fill it up. See this? Like, it was just mind-blowing to me, just observing that. Wow, that's crazy. How many times have I presupposed, judged, not asking, discounting, and then walked away, and then here's what happens. I've done this so many times. Why didn't you just say that? Why didn't you say, "Mom, there's water fountain there, if you need to fill it, we can fill it up"? As opposed to asking the question. Just say what you want. It's like my wife's like, she'll say, "Do you need to," we're driving, and she'll say, "Do you need to use the bathroom?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Do you want to get a drink? Pepsi?"
She does.
Yeah. I'm like, "Why don't you just say what you want to do? You need to use the bathroom and you want to stop at the Maverick and get a Pepsi. Just say it. For the love, why do I have to ask? Why are you asking me all these questions?" But that's how we stay out of judgment, is just saying, I'm just going to be curious until I see the result and see if what I thought was right. Right? What does a scientist do? Make a hypothesis, which is an educated guess, and that says, let's try all these experiments and see if they validate what I think is happening. We can make a hypothesis and say, I think this is happening because of this. I'm going to ask all these questions to see if I'm right, as opposed to going, I don't know. That person is, I don't know this, or whatever. Then we can go on that. Follow that? Okay.
So mother's judgment was clouding her ability to communicate with the child.
Yeah. Or she was just, that's me judging. Or
Yeah,
she was just asking the question.
She wasn't getting the answer.
If the
Child
mother,
was not getting the answer.
let's put it this way: if the mother was as curious about the questions as she was about the water, they would have found out the answer a lot later. If the mom would have said, you know, Jenny, why are you asking me this? Oh, because. So again, this is what's most critical is staying out of judgment because it expands understanding, allows you to see other possibilities, and allows you to be open to something new that maybe you didn't think of. Right? And even in a real estate transaction, if you judge the fact that you're the agent and they're the client, they don't know, that could be wrong. They could know something. There could be something that they're aware of that you don't know. Okay? If you're trying to solve a problem and you think, well, the reason why I'm trying to solve this problem is because they don't have a place to go, and they actually have a place to go, but you're afraid to ask because you don't want to empathize, you don't want to go there because all the stuff. Now you're making decisions that are poor, and the client said, why are you just asking me? Why are you just asking me?
I've noticed in the transaction.
Go ahead.
I've noticed in the transaction. I mean, I'm getting a lot of ahas here. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in a transaction, if in the very beginning I'm not empathetic, they're going to mask the problem.
That's right. Perfect. I would write that down. When you can't convey empathy in the beginning, they mask problems. It's perfect because as you say that, I can think of things that the client doesn't tell you, and then it gets to the point you're like, why didn't you tell me you were on the verge of losing your freaking job? Or why didn't you tell me that this was a possibility? Like, I was afraid. There wasn't safety there for them to express it. Let's say in your first interaction, if your number one concern was, I want them to connect with me. Not trying to impress them. Impressing them or winning them presupposes judgment. Right? All I want to do is connect. If that's all you wanted to do, they will most likely want to work with you if that's all you want to do. Who do you want to work with? The person that you. This is why people will say, I'm just going to use my nephew, he just got his license. I'm going to use my brother, he just got his license. Connection. Peter Drucker said something I thought was pretty powerful. He says, culture eats what? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right? Using that same phraseology, I would say, empathy eats skill set for breakfast. Because people want to work with those who are connected to. It's interesting. I was at Tony Robbins a couple years ago. Without getting into the big story of what happened, there was one guy in this group of 5,000 people that all the women hated because of something he said in this event. Literally, when he said it, did it, all the women booed him. And it's pretty funny because he was up on stage and when Tony brought him up, that whatever, all the women just booed him. So, anyway, so then he goes, we're going to do an experiment, and he whispered something in this guy's ear, and then he said to the gentleman, he said, who's the most attractive woman here in this room, in this audience? And he pointed to this girl about his age, she was probably mid-20s. And she was super attractive, and he says and then everybody kind of laughed because they're like, there's nobody she would like. This guy's completely. So then Tony said, he whispered something in his ear, and then all he said is, I'm going to play a song for 90 seconds, and we're gonna watch. I want you to watch what's about to happen. I'm just gonna play a song for 90 seconds. And he said, he kind of gave a little more definition, but I can't remember how he explained it. Anyway, he played the song, and the guy just looked at the girl for 90 seconds. And at the end of the 90 seconds, he said, he asked the girl ahead of time, do you like him? And she was like, no, like this, because all the women were like, whoa. She's like, no way. At the end of the 90 seconds, he says to the lady, how do you feel about Tony? And she goes, I like him. And he's like, women, he goes, ladies, let me hear you. If you like him now, cheer. And all the women cheered. It was crazy. Like in 90 seconds, it switched. So then he said, I'm going to tell you what happened. He said, I told Tony to look at this girl, this lady, and in his mind, only say this in his mind, this mantra. I want to protect you. I want you to get everything you want in your life. All I want to do is make sure that you're safe. I want to protect you. I want you to get all the things you desire in your life. All I want you to do is feel safe. That's all he said as he looked at her. And it changed himself. Going from hating to loving. It was probably 3,000 people. Because he focused on just connecting and giving them to him. That's why judgment is so disconnected. It's because when we're judging something, holding in our mind, when we're judging a person, it's impossible for us to convey any kind of empathy because it's what we're judging. Makes sense? So, in closing, I just want to talk about this. There's misconceptions with empathy. Again, we've talked about these. It's never about solving the problem. You're trying to make the problem look better. Silver lining it, as Brene Brown said. Blaming. We've talked about examples of how we do this incorrectly. And the misconception is because I haven't experienced their situation, I'm not able to empathize. What has been to this point, if you were to say this was the biggest aha I got out of this class today, what has been your biggest takeaway as you walk out of class?
I think sympathizing with somebody, like when you said that miscarriage example, is to be able to empathize with somebody who's you haven't experienced that situation and being able to figure out a way to empathize with them even though that hasn't happened.
And do you feel like that you're better equipped at attempting that?
Yeah.
My big aha is it's not about the situation, like you said, or the problems of the person. You may not get the problem solved, but that means I think it's more like about the person. I think if we go in and do a listening presentation, that if we go in our minds, how can I help this person? Don't think about the connection, don't think about getting the listening, but how can I help this person? And go in and ask those questions, how can I help you? What is it different? What do you want? And you're going to get all the answers that way, so then you know how to go in and understand.
Yeah, right. You just gave me an idea. What if your listening presentation started like this? Something along that. If I were you, how many agents are you going to be meeting with? You're going to be meeting with a couple agents. I'm just kind of doing this. Oh my gosh, if I were you, I would be listening to this decision. The fact that you're looking for an agent, obviously, to me, just says that you're getting help. You're relying on the agent to help you to do this. And, I would be worried in picking the right agent. It would be this. I feel nervous. I think we would almost be more nervous than you than we used to be. criteria. I would be thinking this. And we talk about the emotion that they're experiencing in that moment. Oh my gosh, if you were to pick an agent today, like, what would people look at? I think you open it up and you start in that way. That person now is going to tell you, I'm not going to for an agent, it's just this. I'm here. You see what I'm saying? Like, it begins with a connection. It doesn't begin with, hi, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, here's my sales, this is my record, here's my stats, and how many deals I've done, how good I am, and what I can do, and here's this and that. Everybody's going to do that. What everybody isn't going to do is take a moment and connect with what they're experiencing in that moment.
That's why sometimes new agents do get listen versus.
That's why they do.
Absolutely.
Because they can't rely on skill. Right? Empathy needs skill. Right? In fact, probably like 4 years ago, I was meeting with the real estate team, and the team lead was there, and they were talking. He had a bunch of new agents, and I said, they were talking about the listing presentation, and I said, I bet you I could get a listing that this team lead couldn't get. I said, I bet you I could beat you in a listing presentation. I've never done one. I'm not even. And we role played it, and I didn't think about this until just now. We role played it, but all I talked about was connection in the beginning of why I was in the business, why they really wanted to sell their house, what was going on, if they were worried, because all of that stuff. And then we just said we're going to jokingly have the team vote. The team's like, he's never sold a house, we've sold 100 this year. Like, how can he possibly be here? Not even because people didn't care about the skill, they cared about how they felt and the reason why I was in the business, and why and how I understood why they were selling their house. I just realized that it's not even it wasn't about expressing the why behind why I was in business, but it was really just about the connection. What else has been an aha?
So I am not concerned. And so the biggest thing for me is recognizing the trust that I have the opportunity to have. That the answer is in the other person. I don't need to fix. That's not my job. And if I do, I'm stealing that opportunity from them to grow their own muscles of finding an answer in themselves that's already there. So my opportunity is to bring them to toxic, where they come back to peace, how to fight or flight, and then they can truly see, embrace what's inside of them.
Yeah.
Or ask the right person, see who it is that they can ask.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because that's what happens when a person is experiencing something very traumatic. They are in fight or flight. What happens when you're in fight or flight mode? Tunnel vision, heart rate goes up, right? You're just operating on adrenaline, blood rushes out of your head into your extremities, so your brain is functioning at its lowest level just to keep you alive. You're in that moment, and then you don't talk about fixing it. I need to get this totally, this thing settled down. Talk about fixing it. That's why sometimes I find myself fixing something and smashing it. It's like I gotta get calm, and the way I'm gonna get calm is by smashing this thing right now. I'm like, anyway.
Well, in Bernie Brown's video, it showed the one animal taking that. So
Yeah.
let me take that too.
Yeah.
I think when you connect with somebody or when you're willing to take something that's heavy from somebody. Who was it? Russ or Rick was talking about the law of attraction, how we attract, and
Yeah.
it's all in our mindset and what we're willing to help somebody with, or I think you read a comment or something. I don't know. But anyway, if they feel like we're there to help them take that load off, then they can open up their mind, and then the fight and flight thing the blood pressure comes down, everything comes down, and that's when they can open up. Because somebody's willing to take the emotion, understand. And it's not even necessarily solving the problem.
The problem is that they're so closed off. That's
Problem is that we want to just disconnect.
yeah, exactly. Because the tunnel vision is there too.
So those moments, like, one of my very good friends and I definitely with his wife and I first had two things. He was, she's cancer for life. And I feel very inadequate as a friend. And when I have a moment with him, I don't even know how to express how I feel. But just, I'm always here for you. And that's like the most I felt like I could deal with it. And I feel like this gives me a much better approach to being a better friend.
Yeah. So watch. He's he's one of your good friends. Okay. Did he ask to see you, or did you go?
We just actually just crossed and happenstance.
Okay.
What was happening and he was dealing with. And we just ended up in the same place at the same time.
Okay.
It's that moment of, what do I say? I can't even imagine what you're going through. I've never been there.
Yeah.
We're friends. I want to support you. I want to lighten your burden. That's my big side.
Yeah.
But, all I could tell him, at the time, all I thought I could tell him was like, I don't even know what to say, Scott. I know that words can't do anything to make this better. But you know that as a friend, if you need absolutely anything to help doctor's appointments, whatever you want, I'm here for you. And that's like, and even saying that, I feel very inadequate for what I was trying to convey.
Right. And so, what does that feeling of inadequacy? What is it telling you? What do you think it's telling you?
It's telling me that I didn't connect with
Right. So this is really important. You were feeling already that you weren't really doing what you intended to do. So you already knew what you did wasn't enough. And then in your mind you said, but how do I fix it? And your body kept saying, it's not enough. Right? And in self-judgment, you say, I'm just going to stay away. I can't even fix it. I can't even begin to touch it. But if you were to say, why am I really feeling this? Just saying, if we sit here and be curious and say, why are you really feeling this? Is because empathy is real. Is because you already knew you were doing it wrong. You knew a lot more about empathy than what you thought. Because you knew what it felt like when it was done wrong. And you knew that you needed to improve it. And then this shows up in your life. And when you hear it, you're like, that's it. That's why I was feeling that, because I wasn't doing it the way I felt it needed to be done.
I feel like as I say this a lot, but I feel like men we don't emote well. We're more of a bury that deep down inside and that'll work out well someday. But just converting how I feel into words is very difficult. I felt I was going to do that as well. But say something with words is just much like the example. It's just
Yeah. Yeah. How many of you have had, like, you felt like you were hitting rock bottom and you knew who you wanted to be with? Like, you knew who you needed to talk to or to express what you're going through, right? I want you to really think about a time that you rock bottom, you're like, I need to talk to somebody. Notice this. You wanted them. Did you think they could solve it? What did the person really do for you? Comfort. You instinctively know who those people are. I need to talk to someone. I need them right now. And all that person does is provide the safety, so you can get out of fight or flight mode. So then you can think and go, okay, now what am I supposed to do? What do I really need to do? Because my mind is so noisy right now. I don't know what to do. But I know if Cheryl was here, I could figure this out. Right? But that's who you have to become in your business. That's why it's so important to connect with your clients, because then when they're going through a problem, you are the first person they think of. I need to talk to them. Every time I'm with them, I just They don't know they're saying this anymore, but I feel safe. And I need to be here. Because I need to be here. I can't be here. And that's what
Interesting you say that because I do have a client that she's having a rough time. We just sold her house because she was going through some real tough times. Was getting to where she couldn't retain it. She's losing her job. And she's actually she didn't know her parents that so much there. She's only 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, she called me.
It's good.
So I must have something right when I
Yeah. The last thing I want you to notice is that when you are in rock bottom, do you want advice? Right? And why don't you want it?
That's not what your mind is.
It's not what your mind is.
You can't even get to the advice because you're so close to it. It's kind of like we just need to talk.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think if you can't acknowledge the emotion, you don't know the advice.
That's right.
You can't.
Right. I love it. It's perfect. That's why. If you can't feel safe yourself, you can't identify what you're actually going through, the emotions, and then to identify what needs to happen until you yourself feel safe. So why you don't want advice is, I just need you here to provide the safety, and I can figure this stuff out.
Because they don't have the trust on others.
And those who don't have someone, they're really stuck. But what you can be, this is how I see this, is that your role as an agent is to put somebody in a home. And in that home is where they experience safety. You have, to me, one of the most sacred roles in the world, because you are literally helping them to identify a place where they're going to feel safe and be able to connect with themselves and with their family members, and to be able to resolve this. Like it's more important than what we see. It's not just putting them in, not just finding them a place to live. It's a place where they feel safe. And to the degree that you are able to identify or to walk them through that process and make sure they find a place that makes them feel safe, that meets their needs, that, as opposed to, will you please just pick a house we've seen 20? Just freaking make up your mind. Probably they're not wanting to make up their mind because why? They haven't felt safe. There's
I think
something.
you want them to emotionally connect to you.
That's right. Right, and that's why. They haven't, could be they haven't felt safe yet. They're not, their mind's somewhere else or whatever, but they need to feel that because that's where they're going to learn and grow and raise a family. And that's where they're going to experience life. And if they're in a place where they don't love, or they feel like that you were arbitrarily or were careless, and, going through this process, that's why it's high emotion. That's why it's high stakes, not just that it's a dollar amount, because it's emotionally, they know what this really means. It's greater than let's see. Any other questions or thoughts?
I got another aha in this class, and that is, remember I said earlier that my husband wants to fix things, and I'm the emotional part. I shut down when he wants to fix it. I really do.
Yeah.
Rather than shutting down, my aha moment is expressing to him that I understand that he loves me enough to want to fix it. That's going to bring his level down of wanting to fix it. And then I think the communication is going to be a lot better. Then I can express to him, I'm emotional about this. This is how I'm feeling it. All I want you to do is feel what I feel. But first acknowledging the fact that he isn't doing it to try to fix it. He really loves me enough. And that's his way of showing it. So I think that
Are
that's
you
their
saying you were judging him?
Exactly.
Could be. So, yeah, that's another one.
Thank you. So a couple of things. One, if you don't have a survey, I want to give it to. I'd like for you to complete the survey and turn it in. 2, I want to make sure that you signed in for the class, that you get credit for it, sign up to do it. So make sure you finish that. And then 3, if you would, I want you to take what you learned today, something that you learned that was an aha, share it, post it on social media, share it with someone. Create curiosity in someone else, for someone else, so that you can begin having a conversation with somebody else. I believe that this, when we focus on this skill set, we talk about why, Simon said it, why we're in business. Well, the better able we are at empathizing, it creates a deeper why. It creates more passion in us for why we do our business, because we don't want other people to suffer or experience it. Yes, Tony Robbins, why does he do what he does? He says to what? He says, our goal is to reduce or eliminate suffering in the world. That's what he wants. So that's what drives him, is to eliminate suffering, or unnecessary suffering is how he says it. So the more that we're connected to our own emotions, it deepens our purpose in what we do. And the deeper our purpose is, the more detailed, the more passion we have, thus the more willing we are to suffer, to grow, in order that someone else doesn't have to suffer. It helps us to be passionate about what we do. It helps us to have a willingness to step out of our comfort zone, to make prospecting calls, to practice our scripts, to look awkward or silly, to do all of these things because we're so passionate. Thanks for letting me tell us that.
Thanks, Louie. That was a great class. You guys loved it. Let's clap for Louie one more time. Consider watching YouTube right lunch. Let me see if they're here.
It's all.
Is it? Are they here? Did they want
I
to
don't know if they're here.
say anything?